Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Patnubay at gabay ng magulang ay kailangan sa mga batang manonood.
Nasaan man kayo sa mundo, kasama kayo sa intense na hulaan dito sa Bawal Judgmental!
Magandang hapon sa lahat. Ito po si Maha Blanca.
Jose Natalo, ang makakasama ninyo ngayong umaga.
Oy, teka. Ready na ang ating celebrity guest na makihula. Ito at kilalanin natin siya.
Heto na naman.
Magandang umaga mga Dabber Cats! Ako nga po pala si Water Spencer at ang aking pinagkakaabalahan ngayon ay ang aking business na water station para matulungan ang mga taong uhaw sa atensyon at pagmamahal. Kaya naman po, handang-handa na akong sumabak sa pagkikipagkilatis.
Yes, Spencer, magandang umaga sa iyo. Kamusta ka? How are you feeling?
Excited po na medyo kinakabahan.
Spencer, I've heard that you've prepared so much for this game. That's nice.
Yes po, actually, nagbasa na po ako ng mga posibleng tanong at kung paano ang tamang pagkilatis.
Okay, let's see, Spencer. Pero ang tanong dito is, judgmental ka ba?
Minsan.
Minsan? That's okay. Pero ingat sa pagiging judgmental para maiwi mo ang jackpot na
650 million pesos! Huwag na nating patagalin. Ito na ang mga Dabber Cats na kikilitisin mo. It's time to log in. Ang iyong pagpipilian sa larong ito ay ang mga taong hindi pinili.
Umpisahan na natin kay letter A.
What's up, Dabber Cats? Ako nga pala si Marites Claire. And my motto in life is, it's more fun in the Philippines, kaya ba't lalayo ka pa? Swerte na nga ng tsinelas mo, nakatapa kasi paraiso.
Next one, Aling Marites. Ngayon, punta naman tayo kay letter B.
Ay, okay. Good morning, Dabber Cats. Ako nga pala si Telma Robertson. Huwag akong luto sa ilang ginaingon.
O saan ako nasa? Huwag ka ni mata! Nag-practice ka na kamatayon!
Ay, okay.
Ay okay. Let's move now to letter C.
Anyong mga Dapper Cats, my name is Kimberta and my motto in life is kapag binato ka ng bato, idemanda mo.
Napakagaling naman, Berta. Ngayon, punta naman tayo kay letter D.
Hey, Dabber Cats! Ako nga pala si Belinda. And my motto in life is, if there's a will, may jacket.
Nasa Itbulaga po tayo. Wala po sa Wawawi. Char!
All set? Let's start the first round. Spencer, sa round 1, 3 out of 1. Tatlo lang ang hahanapin mo. Isa dyan ang mali at yun ang dapat mong iwasan. Good luck!
Spencer, what do you think is the possible question for this round?
Based from my observation, may mga foreign features sila. May Asian and may Western. So for me, it's about culture or something connected with cultural relativism.
Ha? Ano daw? Pasensya na at ako'y naguguluhan. Partner Renz, help me. What does cultural relativism mean?
Partner, cultural relativism is a concept which establishes that cultures are essentially different from each other so as their moral structures and relation frameworks. In simple words, cultural relativism is concerned with understanding a culture based on its standings and not judging based with one's own culture.
Oh, now I got it. Meaning, the idea of cultural relativism is to assist people in relating to different cultures that are not their own. So basically, cultural relativism is helpful because it leads to the appreciation of other people's way of life around the world.
Absolutely, partner. Hindi na tayo magpapatumpik-tumpik pa. Ang tanong! Sino-sino sa kanila ang tama tungkol sa claims of cultural relativist ni Dr. James Rachel ng The Elements of Moral Philosophy. Is it, Marites?
Different societies have different moral codes.
How about Thelma?
There is no objective standard that can be used to judge one society's code better than another.
Or Berta?
There is universal truth in ethics, that there are moral truths that hold for all people at all times.
Lastly, is it Belinda?
The moral code of a society determines what is right within that society. That is, if the moral code of a society says that a certain action is right, then that action is right, at least within that society.
Oh, that's hard. But I guess and I believe that Spencer can answer it all. Spencer?
Belinda, Marites, at Telma.
Is it your final choice?
Yes.
Pwede ka pa magpalit, Spencer.
Final answer.
Wow! The bravery is indeed great.
Alright, so my final answer na si Spencer. Berta, anong masasabi mo na hindi ka pinili ni Spencer?
Bawi next life. Ha 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 ha.
Yes! You got it all correct, Spencer. Nanalo ka ng 50 million pesos.
Thank you po. Sana magtuloy-tuloy ang swerte. How come po na wrong choice si Berta?
Oo nga, Berta, bakit ikaw ang mali?
Ganito kasi yan. Different societies have different moral codes. Cultural relativism claims that ethics is relative to individuals, groups, cultures, and societies. Relativism resists universal moral. The moral code of society determines what is right or wrong in that society.
At ito pa mga mare, there is no objective standard that can be used to judge one society code against another. It's so arrogant to judge another culture, so we should always be tolerant of them. Cultural relativism of many people is a response for the complexity of a moral issues.
I will give you a great example. The best example kay ako mama. Sa iba sa buntag, sige nagyaw-yaw ratatatang bakba. Huwag akong ginahimo, muhilom, isulod sa isa kadalunggan, gawas sa pika. And I am doing that because I grew up in a society that taught me to be respectful with my parents even when arguing. However, we can see some Western families that are not the same as we are. Some children in the United States usually talk back with their parents, but we have no right to tell them that they are disrespectful. We just have to apply cultural relativism and try to understand and view their culture to which standard it belongs, not by any other standards.
Yes! Talaga namang napakatalino ng ating mga Dabber Cats. They have proven that cultural relativism is essential in our lives. But I was wondering, does it have any disadvantages?
Oops! Mamaya na natin malalaman. Let's proceed to the second round. Dalawa sa kanila ang tama at dalawa rin ang mali.
The prize for this round is 200 billion pesos kapag nakuha mo ang tamang sagot.
Alright, so this question is related to the advantages and disadvantages of cultural relativism. Dr. James Rachel is an American philosopher who specialized in ethics and animal rights. So, according to him, people can learn two important lessons from cultural relativism.
Ang tanong!
Alin sa ating mga di pinili ang nagsasabi ng tama?
Ayon kay Thelma,
The lesson that we can learn from cultural relativism that it warns us from assuming that our preferences are the absolute rational standard.
ayon naman kay Berta,
The lesson that we can learn from cultural relativism is there is no objective standard that can be used to judge one society's code better than another's.
Ayon naman kay Marites.
Ang balita ko mga mare, the lesson that we can learn from cultural relativism is it teaches us to keep an open mind and to be more amenable in discovering the truth.
At ayon naman kay Belinda,
Ay, Day! The lesson that we can learn from cultural relativism is that it provides general guidelines for conduct.
Spencer, pumili ka ng dalawa sa kanila na nagsasabi ng tama.
I think tama si Marites kasi as far as I know, cultural relativism allows us to mitigate our own prejudices and be more open-minded in examining other cultures. However, nagdadalawang isip ako kina Berta at Telma. But sige, pipiliin ko si Marites at Berta.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Telma, anong masasabi mo na hindi ka pinili ni Spencer?
Ay, di jud na okay.
Ang nagsasabi ng tama ay sina Telma at Marites! Sa round na ito ay isa lang ang tama ni Spencer. Kaya makakatanggap siya ng 100 million pesos.
Nga nung wala man ko nimo pilia, nga kabalo ba ka? Dr. James Treshels discusses very eloquently two important lessons that can be learned from cultural relativism. First, it warns us from assuming that our preferences are the absolute rational standard, and second, it teaches us to keep an open mind and to be more amenable in discovering the truth.
Ug isa pa sa chismis mare, the word tolerance comes to mind from these two lessons. It means the ability or willingness to be understanding or at the very least, allow the existence of opinions or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with.
Pero Jai, hinay-hinay lang sad ta kanya sa inaangulan ng cultural relativism, no? There are dangers that are associated with cultural relativism. Taking a culturally relative view may be well and good for harmless practices, but what about harmful ones? Just like cockfighting in the Philippines.
Ay, talpa ka na! Alam niyo ba mga mare, yung asawa ko, ang laki nang naipanalo sa talpakan nung nakaraan. Kaya, nakapagpariban ako.
Mauna, naikapariban, pero singlon sa utang magpabungol-bungol. Mga sa nang bisag mali ng sabong, sigil ng gihapon kay mga kwartaman. Nililang ka ng sabong. They are also bullfighting in Spain, Faroese for killing long-fin pilot whales in the Faroe Islands, and dog festival in China. Ay, kagrabe, di ba?
Grabe, would it be right to allow these cultural practices to continue, even with the fact that it involves cruel treatment and killing of animals, simply because they happen in a cultural context?
Oy mga mare, tama na ang mainit na debatehan. Let us proceed to the next round.
Sa round na ito, ang makukuha ang premyo ay 400 million pesos. Kaya galingan mo, Spencer.
This round will be the last round for this video. Kaya ano pang hinihintay natin?
Ang tanong!
In The Consequences of Taking Cultural Relativism Seriously by James Treshels in The Elements of Moral Philosophy, there are 3 right answers. Pero, ang pipiliin mo sa mga di pinili ay ang nagsasabi ng mali. So, Spencer, sino sa tingin mo ang nagsasabi ng mali?
Si Berta ba?
The idea of moral progress is called into doubt.
O di kaya ay si Telma?
We all have our own biases that are rooted in the cultures to which we belong.
Pero baka si Belinda.
We could no longer say that the customs of other societies are morally inferior to our own.
O di kaya si Marites.
We could decide whether actions are right or wrong just by consulting the standards of our society.
Spencer, sino sa tingin mo ang nagsasabi ng mali?
Sa tingin ko po si Telma.
Bakit si Telma ang sa tingin mo ay nagsasabi ng mali?
Kasi po hindi ko siya napili kanina.
Ayos ka din ha. Final answer?
Final answer po.
Ang sagot, ang nagsasabi ng mali ay si Telma.
The idea of moral progress is called into doubt because some people tend to tolerate some cultures, even though it provides harm to anyone. If we are to develop a society both morally and socially, harmful cultural practices must be corrected, if not abandoned completely, and be changed for the better.
We could no longer say that the customs of other societies are morally inferior to our own. Basically, we cannot judge other cultures such as child bribes, tribal cleansing, slavery, or honor killings because they cannot be seen as wrong as they happen in the context of a particular culture.
Ana pa sila, we could decide whether actions are right or wrong just by consulting the standards of our society. If we tolerate the harmful practices of other culture, then cannot criticize our own culture if it will also indulge in harmful practices. The only way we can judge right or wrong is through consulting our own standards.
Yes, that was all correct. How about you, Telma?
Wala, kay mali akong answer. So, ano sad ko mama ano?
Congratulations, Spencer! Nanalo ka ng 500 million pesos!
Ano ang gagawin mo sa napanalunan mo, Spencer?
Ibibili ko po ng Spartan.
Ay, sana all.
Hold up!
Hold up ne, hindi mo part.
kwarta.
Okay, that's enough! Congrats ulit sa iyo, Spencer! Mga Dabbercats, yun lang po for today's video.
Magkita-kita ulit tayo sa susunod na episode mga Dabbercats. This is your host, Jose Natalo.
And this is your host, Maha Blanca. At ito ang
Bawal
Judgmental!
Pwede good uy, dili mo tamang judge, mag-describe lang.